Good morning again, everyone. So today we will discuss or continue discussing the Piaget stages of development. Alright, the Piaget's 4 stages of intellectual or cognitive development are, first one is sensory motor, that is birth through ages up until 18 to 24 months. Second stage is the pre-operational, that's toddlerhood, 18 to 24 months through early childhood, age of 7. Now, the third stage is concrete operational, that's ages 7 to 11, and the last one is formal operational, and that's adolescence through adulthood. But before we jump up into the 4 stages of intellectual development, we will first tackle the summarization why Piaget came up with this theory. Alright, so Piaget acknowledged that some children may pass through the stages at different ages than the averages noted above. He also said some children may show characteristic of more than one stage at a given time. But Piaget, or he insisted that first is cognitive development always follow this sequence. So yung ginawa ni Piaget na mga sequences, yung cognitive development, yun daw yung mga sequence na binigay niya, yun na yung naga-follow or in order. Alright, stages cannot be skipped and each stage is marked by new intellectual abilities and a more complex understanding of the world. Alright, Piaget in 1936 theory broke new ground because he found that children's brain work in very different ways than adults. Before his theory, many believed that children were not yet capable of thinking as well as grown-ups, and some experts disagree with his or Piaget ideas of stages. Instead, they see development as continuous. So other experts see, or ayaw nila yung o tipong hindi sila sang-ayon sa theory ni Piaget. They insisted, or some of the expert believe that development is continuous. Hindi siya nag-stop, it's continuous. Another criticism is that Piaget didn't consider how a child's culture and social environment affect their development. So aside sa sinabi ng expert na continuous ang development, hindi din daw kinonsider ni Piaget yung culture and social environment na nag-aapekto sa kanilang development or progress ng paglaki ng bata. Which is, ang ibang mga expert like Bloom's, like Erickson's and other experts na nag-contribute in regards to the developmental of a child, they always consider the culture and the social environment because they believe na malaki ang factor or malaki ang impact ng development ng bata kung ano ang nakagisnan niya. Alright? Okay. So as of this moment, we will tackle the first stage, which is the sensory motor stage. During the early stages, according to Piaget, infants are only aware of what is right in front of them. They focus on what they see, what they are doing, and physical reaction with their immediate environment. So the first stage corresponds from birth to infancy. This is the stage when a child who is initially reflexive in grasping sucking and reaching some becomes more organized in his movement and activity. So, ang activity during the sensory motor is yun lang nung nag-focus ng everyday routine niya. Kasi nga, it is birth to infancy. Hindi naman siya nagfo-focus sa paglilinis kasi nga ang focus lang niya is magdede, ang umiyak, ang tumae, ang gumapang, ang tumawa. Alright. The term sensory motor focuses on the prominence of the senses and the muscle movement through which the infant comes to learn about himself and the world. So the term sensory motor stage, during this stage, ang nag-focus lang nito to develop is the muscles and the senses of the body. Alright. In working with the children with sensory motor stage, teachers should aim to provide a rich and stimulation environment with appropriate objects to play with. Na ano nyo yung mga teacher ng mga preschool teacher, yung mga preschool teacher, do you observe na hindi sila mas more on discussion, mas more on things, multimedia presentations, at yung makakatch ng attention ng stage na yon or ng mga bata, because puro senses lang and the muscular ang nagde-develop nung stage na yon. Hindi mo pa yan pwedeng i-introduce ng algebra. Mahihirapan yan sila. Which is, some preschool teacher nag-aano sila ng activities, colorful visual aids, at the same time as more on laro. Alright. Under the sensory motor stage, we have what we call the object permanence. This is used to describe a child's ability to know that objects continue to exist even though they cannot longer be seen or heard. A very good example for this, si Santa Claus. Okay, Santa Claus is a person na hindi pa natin, kahit tayo, hindi pa natin nakita at hindi na rin natin narinig si Santa Claus. Nakausap mo ba siya? Hindi. But some children believe that Santa Claus exists. Okay? But they never see it. They never heard Santa Claus. But they believe Santa Claus because Santa Claus is the perfect example for object permanence. Kasi nga hanggang ngayon nadadala natin. Even kayo, naniniwala kayo na may Santa Claus. This is the ability of the child to know that an object still exists even out of sight. So, this ability is attained in the sensory motor stage. Alright. So now let's proceed to the second one. Second stage is the pre-operational stage. During this stage, toddler through age of 7, young children are able to think about things symbolically. Their language use become more mature. They also develop memory and imagination, which allow them to understand the difference between past and future and engage in make-believe. So, under the pre-operational stages, dito na yung lumalawak yung imahinasyon ng mga bata. Okay? At alam din nila yung kahapon at ngayon. And, nai-engage and nade-develop dito yung paniniwala nila. Okay? For example, kagaya niyan yung concept ni Santa Claus. Dito din na stage, naniniwala din sila kay Santa Claus na every Christmas, pag mag-good boy o good girl or may ginagawa silang kabutihan, bibigyan sila ng gift ni Santa Claus. So, how imaginative is that? And they engage already in make-believe. Alright. The operational stage covers from about 2 to 7 years old and roughly corresponding to the preschool years. Intelligence at this stage is paano ba to? Hindi ko na makita. intuitive in nature. At this stage, the children can now make mental representation and able to pretend the child is now ever closer to the use of symbol. So, under this stage is more about symbolism. Alright. Under the pre-operational stage, we have the symbolic function. Kasi nga si pre-operational is more on symbol. So let's talk about symbolic function. This is to represent object and event. So this is ability to represent objects and event. A symbol is a thing that represents something else. A drawing, a written word, or a spoken word comes to be understood as representing a real object. Okay. So under the symbolic function, ang very good example for this one is, di ba nung bata pa tayo, especially sa girls, pag may makita tayo na cup of tea, di ba naglalaro tayo, kunyari may laman yung ating cup na laruan, tapos iniinom-inom natin, kunyari. Oo, yun ang perfect example ng symbolic function, na umiinom tayo ng tsaa doon sa cup na laruan natin. At madadala natin yun sa paglaki na ang lalagyan na yun, o laruan man o hindi, totoo, pang tsaa yun siya. Another, sinong nakatry dito na naglalaro, ang perang gamit-gamit is wrapper ng candy, wrapper ng white rabbit. So, pag white rabbit, it means 20 pesos lang. Pag snow bear, yun yung malaki-laki. Okay? Ginagawa namin yan dati. Yun yung tinatawag na symbolic function. Nagre-representa siya ng objects. Kasi nga, yung wrapper na yun is money para sa atin nung stage na pre-operational. Alright, another. Barbecue kami, kunyari, laro-laro kami ng barbecue. So, hindi namin ma-provide ang totoong barbecue. Instead, we use leaves. Itutusok namin sa walis ting-ting at kunyari, nagbibenta kami ng barbecue. Laro-laro lang. At ibayad mo sa amin ang using wrapper of candies. So, can you see the difference? Ngayon, ang mga bata hindi na ngayon gumagamit ng mga ganyan kasi mas more on gadgets na sila. They already engage in gadgets na hindi naman na-apply into real world situation. Alright, another under the pre-operational stage is what we call the egocentrism. This is the tendency of the child to only see his point of view and to assume that everyone has the same or has the same point of view. For example, ang batang babae na si Ana, ang tawag niya sa tatay niya ay daddy. Alright? Ngayon, si Ana ay may pinsan na si Ani. Si Ani, ang tawag niya sa tatay ni Ana ay uncle. Ngayon si Ana hindi niya maintindihan, bakit uncle ang tawag mo sa tatay ko? Dapat tawag mo din sa tatay ko is tatay. Kasi nga, under egocentrism, yung point of view ng bata dapat same din or akala nila pare-pareho ang paniniwala nila na kahit pinsan kita, dapat ang tawag mo sa tatay ko is tatay din. Alright, naintindihan po ba? Now, let's proceed to another one. It's still under the pre-operational stage. Centration. This refers to the tendency of the child to only focus on one aspect of a thing or event or exclude other aspects. So, itong centration, focus lang siya kung ano yung kailangan niyang i-focus. At yung ibang mga opinions, ibang ideas, hindi pinangsasatabi na lang niya yun. So, perfect example nito. Binigyan si Ana ng 2 basong tubig na may lamang tubig na parpantay. Okay? Na pantay siya. Ngayon, transfer ang isang basong tubig sa isang slim na baso at napuno yun. Kasi nga slim, hindi na siya pantay. Napuno yun. So, ang iniisip pa rin ni Ana na ang marami tingnan is yung slim na baso. Kasi nga naisip niya, ay, mas puno naman tong isa, so mas marami ito. Kagaya lang nung yung activity nyo previous. Right. Do you still remember your activity? Na si Diana binigyan ng 100 peso bill ng kanyang Uncle Jacob. Ngayon, binigyan siya ng aginaldo ng 100 peso bill, pero ayaw niya ng 100 peso kasi gusto niya yung 4 na tig-20. Kasi nga, naisip ni Diana na mas maraming pera ang 20 kasi nga 4 ang nakikita niya. Kung bilangin niya 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4, mas marami man yung 4 na 20 uncle kaysa sa isang 100. So hindi niya alam yung value ng money. Ang alam niya is marami siyang pera pag yung 4 ang tinanggap niya na 20. So ganun din tayo dati, kayo naranasan nyo yan. Aminin natin o sa hindi. Mas gusto natin maraming tig-20 kaysa sa isang 100. Tama? Alright. So, na-experience ko din yan dati. Ayoko ng 100, gusto ko ng 5-20. Pareho lang naman. Na-realize ko, pareho lang naman pala yun siya 100. Pero sa mga bata kasi, ang centration nila is hindi na nila yun inaano na tipong, ay, mas marami lamang 20, pero pareha lang 100. Okay? Hindi na nila yun ini-entertain because they entertain what they believe. Alright. Okay, let's now proceed to irreversibility. The pre-operational children still have the inability to reverse their thinking. Perfect example for irreversibility. Ito yung tipong tinuruan mo ang bata ng 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. Sabihin nila, okay, 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. How about 3 plus 2? Hindi na nila yun masasagot. Kasi ang alam nila, 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. Now, ang 3 plus 2, another thing na yun para sa kanila. Yun ang tinatawag na irreversibility. Hindi mo pwedeng mabaliktad-baliktad. Kung anong naturo mo, yun na yun. Okay? Now, after irreversibility, hindi ko nasali sa PowerPoint presentation ko, is the animism. Alright, this is the tendency of children to attribute human-like traits or characteristic to inanimate object. When at night, the child is asked, where is the sun? So, kaya nga nire-reply ng bata, Mr. Sun is asleep or sleeping. Kasi paggabi na, iniisip ng mga bata na si Mr. Sun natutulog na kasi si Mr. Moon na ang lumalabas. Kaya siya may tinatawag na animism. Yung object, ini-example nila yun as human being din. Alright, next, last one under the pre-operational is the transductive reasoning. So this refers to the pre-operational child's type of reasoning that is neither inductive nor deductive. For example, ang bata is alam niya yung nanay niya nagtatrabaho sa umaga, umuuwi sa gabi. Ngayon, alam niyang gabi umuwi yung nanay niya. Pag tinatanong ng ibang tao, ano na tayo ngayon? Araw o umaga? Sabihin niya, ay, umaga o gabi? Sasabihin niya, gabi. Bakit? Bakit gabi? Kasi gabi umuwi si mama eh. Di gabi na ngayon kasi umuwi na si mama. Okay? So, yun yung paniniwala niya. Na ang nanay niya umuwi ng gabi. Kaya, kahit umaga pa umuwi yung nanay niya, alam niyang gabi. Kasi yun ang nakagisnan niya. Yun ang nakasanayan niya. Kahit anong irason mo pa dyan sa bata, yun ang paniniwala niya. Okay? Alright, we will discuss the third stage is the concrete operational stage. At this time, elementary age and pre-adolescent children ages 7 to 11 show logical concrete reasoning. Children's thinking become less focused on themselves. They increasingly aware of external events. They begin to realize that their own thoughts and feelings are unique and may not be shared by others, or may not be even be a part of reality. But during this stage, most children still can't think abstractly or hypothetically. So this stage is characterized by the ability of the child to think logically, but not in terms of concrete objects. This covers approximately the ages between 8 to 11 years, or the elementary school years. The concrete operational stage is marked by the following. The first one is decentering. This refers to the ability of the child to perceive the different features of objects and situation. So under decentering, no longer is the child focused or limited to one aspect or dimension. This allowed the child to be more logical when dealing with concrete objects and situation. The next one is reversibility. During the stage of concrete operations, the child can now follow that certain operations can be done in reverse. So kanina yung pre-operational is irreversibility. Ito naman under the concrete operational stage is reversibility. Kanina, yung in-example natin is 2 plus 3 is equals to 5. Then, sa reversibility period, alam na nila na kahit ibaliktad mo yan, kahit 2 plus 3 is equals to 5, and 3 plus 2 is equals to 5. So, alam nila na 5 pa rin ang sagot. And then, 5 minus 3 is equals to 2. So, dito na nahahasa or nade-develop yung mga bata na pwede palang pagbalik-baliktarin ang mga bagay-bagay, especially in solving math problems. Alright. Next is the conservation. This is the ability to know that certain properties of objects like numbers, mass, volumes, or areas do not change even if there is a change in appearance. So, ito na yung tipong kahit iba-ibang shapes pa yan, kahit iba-ibang hugis ng kunyari, let's say, ilong. Pag ang sinabing there are 7 nose, hindi naman sinabing flat or matangos na ilong, sinabing nose. So, binilang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, there are 7 nose, ma'am. Kahit pa yan flat o matangos, pag nakita nilang 7, 7 yun. Disregard sila yung appearance. Another, box. May maliit na box, may medium na laki na box, at may big na box. Okay? Pero ang nasa isip nila, box yun. 3 ang box. Whether is maliit o malaki. Wala silang pakialam sa dimension, walang pakialam kung ilan yung volume ng areas ng box. Basta box yun sila. 3 box. Alright. Next is the seriation. This refers to the ability to order or arrange things in series based on dimension. So, for this one, tinitingnan nila yung mga timbang, yung volume and size. So, dito na nila na-arrange from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest. Dito na rin nila nakaklasify yung mga timbang, yung mga different colors na tipong i-arrange nila ang colors according to their family. May mga pamilya yung mga colors. Kunyari, ang yellow kasama si orange doon, kasama naman si ganito doon. Si green kasama si aqua green, si light green, at saka si iba pang green. Si blue kasama si dark blue, si navy blue, si light blue, ano pang mga blue na bagay-bagay. So, marunong na silang mag-arrange. Alright? Now, let's talk about the last stage, which is the formal operational stage. Adolescents who reach the 4th stage of intellectual development this is usually at age of 11 plus, paakyat, are able to use symbols related to abstract concepts such as algebra and science. They can think about things in systematic ways, came up with theories, and considered possibilities. They can also ponder abstract relationships and concepts such as justice. Dito na stage, medyo nagmamature na yung bata. Dito din na stage, nade-develop or nalalaman kung saan magaling ang bata na areas. Okay? Dito na lalaman ng mga teacher na, ito si Juan, magaling siya sa algebra. Ito naman si Pedro, magaling naman siya sa science. And under that stage, dyan nahahasa ang mga abstract and the concept of love, freedom, and such as justice. Alright, ito yung types of reasoning ng under formal operational. Number 1 is hypothetical reasoning. Number 2 is analogical reasoning. And 3 is deductive reasoning. Alright, let's talk about hypothetical reasoning. This is the ability to come up with different hypotheses about the problem and to gather the weight data in order to make final decision or judgment. So, hypothetical reasoning, nai-insert ito siya sa science subject. Okay, for this stage, formal operational stage, pumapasok na si hypothetical reasoning. So, dito siya yung tipong mga laboratories, may mga problems to solve, nagagather ng datas, na tipong, itong data na ito, mali ito kasi nga, hindi ako, nakagather ako ng data, pero yung judgment ko nito is not, tama para sa ganitong product. So, do you still remember your science during high school days? Diba mas more on gathering of data tayo before came up to a product or to a decision on our activity. Next is the analogical reasoning. This is the ability to perceive the relationship in one instance and then use that relationship to narrow down possible answers in another similar situation or problem. So, analogical reasoning, ito yung tipong minsan sa stage na ito, nagiging heartbroken tayo dahil pinagpalit tayo. Okay? Pinagpalit tayo dito dahil hindi tayo marunong magsuklay, hindi tayo marunong magpulbo, pinagpalit tayo dun sa marunong magsuklay at magpulbo. So, under analogical reasoning, parang ina-analyze mo sa sarili mo kung ano ang problema sa'yo o ano yung kulang sa'yo. Para pag pumasok ka na naman sa another relationship, hindi natin yan may iwasan, papasok na naman sa relationship, may apply mo yung mga nangyari sa'yo, bakit ka naging broken-hearted or bakit ka brinika ng shota mo. Okay, baka siguro hindi ako marunong magsuklay. Sige, this time, may shota ako ngayon, magsusuklay na ako, magpupulbo na ako. Okay? So, this one is, ano yung mga tamang sagot o possible answer in another similar situation o problem na na-encounter niya. Next is the deductive reasoning. This is the ability to think logically by applying the general rules to a particular instance or situation. For example, all countries near the North Pole have cold temperatures. So, Greenland is near the North Pole, therefore, Greenland has a cold temperature. So, etong deductive reasoning, parang ina-apply lahat in general form ang mga sagot. O in general form, yung lahat ng rule. Yung example kanina na lahat ng malapit sa North Pole, malamig ang temperature. So, nakita ng bata, si Greenland, malapit pala si North Pole. So, naisip niya, therefore, I conclude that Greenland is near the North Pole, therefore, Greenland has a cold temperature. Okay, that is under the deductive reasoning. Alright, that's the end of our discussion for today. I hope you learned something in our topic. And guys, do not forget to take down notes or jot down all the informations that I already discussed because it is reflected on your final exam. Alright, I hope you stay well and stay safe. Everyone, have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.